Life After the Rams with Colin Gibson.
Welcome to Season 2, Episode 2 of Life After the Rams. Today we sit down with Mark O'Brien, a player whose career and life were changed forever by a routine medical. He openly talks about the moment he was told he had less than 24 hours to live and how football became both his escape and his identity. This season of Life After the Rams is proudly supported by Mr Shaw's House in Derby, our home for live events, and by Rams Trust, the Derby County Supporters Society, established to promote good governance and fan engagement. They welcome new membership applications from all supporters. Just visit ramstrust.org.uk/membership for more details. So today's guest is Mark O'Brien, a player whose story is one of the most remarkable ever connected to Derby County. Mark talks with raw honesty about a routine medical that uncovered a life-threatening heart condition. The moment he was told he had less than 24 hours to live, the long journey back to football and then into retirement. It's emotional, powerful and deeply human.
Life After the Rams with Colin Gibson.
Mark, it's good to chat after all this time. First thing I've got to ask you, and you probably get fed up with people asking you, how are you? How's your health?
Yeah, everything's all good. As I said, I think year after year since the operation, things have just been gradually getting better and better. I know I've had the struggles in the past, but I just think I'm starting to see like different perspectives and the brighter side of life side kind of stuff. So yeah, everything's brilliant. You
really struggled with it at first, didn't you?
Yeah, I struggled really bad at the very beginning. I think there was a lot going on. It was COVID, there was a retirement and also the open heart surgery, and I don't get to play football. Like everything was like one big storm that was going on, and I think I was trying to deal with it all by potentially ignoring it, as well as trying to almost fix it all in the one go so it could all go away. But I learned over time, if I just broke it down bit by bit by bit and just worked away at it, like gaining new perspectives, talking to more people and just being a little bit more open and honest, and like realising that there was no reason to kind of hide away panic attacks, anxieties and depression. It was more about the fact of accept it, speak about it, learn from other people, and your life soon turns around for all the right reasons. And as I said, I've just gotten a lot more comfortable in myself as well as my life the way it is now. And as I said from the beginning, like I couldn't be happier.
So it was, if you like, cathartic to actually get out there and talk about it and tell people that football's a great career to have, but one day it may just come to a very quick stop.
Yeah, and I think that's the way that I try and live my life now, is that kind of example to a lot of people, whether it's sports people or whether it's just your day-to-day life. It makes no difference the struggles I have just because I played professional football to the next person who works in an office and can have the exact same struggle. So obviously me being a lot more comfortable in myself to speak about it, I want to try and live my life as that example, to kind of show that you can face all of these different adversities in your life, and you can face all of these downtimes in your life, but the willingness not to give up, the willingness to keep trying to find that next path that you want to be on, to try and find that next career path, or whether that is just waking up and breaking a day down to the smallest that it can be, of when you open your eyes first thing in the morning, be grateful for it, because not that everybody gets the opportunity. And when I do that for myself on the basis of I had a doctor tell me that I had less than 24 hours of living, and also I had another doctor tell me family that the state my heart was in, I should be dead. So for me to wake up and take that for granted, I think that's why I think my life turned around, for those smaller things, to kind of say, well, do you know what, the fact that I can open my eyes, right, I don't play football anymore, that's a chapter that's finished, but I'm still alive to watch it, I'm still alive to see me friends, I'm still alive to take in some fresh air or go walk in the rain. Like, at least I'm still here for it. And when my life has become simplified by that much, as I say, I try and show that in examples.
Do you remember the moment when you were given that news?
Yeah, I remember both times. I remember when I got told my valve was leaking, and I got told it was leaking very badly this time, that it broke me. Like, everything about it just completely broke me. I remember I just burst into tears. It was in an office down in Cardiff, and because it was COVID, there was no family here, and I walked out to my ex-partner's car and I just burst into tears again on the phone to my mum, crying. And I'll always remember it, that it felt as though, because football was my life, it felt as though my life's over. And then you put the retirement to one side, because at the end of the day, me career for myself probably didn't go to where everybody wants it to go, where you want to go play the Premier League and you want to do all the amazing things. So like, you never, like, I used to be really hard on myself, so I never really thought too much of my career. You thought to yourself, well, if I retire now, nobody's going to care, and nobody's going to, like, I didn't go and win a World Cup, I didn't win Ballon d'Or and all these types of things. Like, it was more about, like, I just had a steady enough career where I did okay for myself, but that competitiveness inside you is kind of saying, could have done more. But I think taking a step back from that, and once I released out there that I was retiring, and the messages that came through to my phone from ex-managers, from ex-teammates, the people that I've played against on a pitch that I was never a teammate of, it kind of put it all into perspective, going, do you know what, I actually did do okay for myself. And look, when I had the operation, I remember it was the night before the operation, and they thought I had an infection in the valve, and the doctor had to call my parents to let them know that, like, it's not looking good for me. I had to get moved on to the main ward where everybody is recovering, but I was still waiting on my operation because I needed to be kept an eye on closely, because the doctor came in and said to me that my valve was hanging on by just a thread. And he said, and through the night, if that was to break off and circulate through your body, he said, and get lodged in your brain, you're dead. So he said, we need to make sure we keep a close eye on you. So I think that evening I probably had less than 20 minutes sleep. Just, I forced myself to stay awake, because I thought if I close my eyes, I might not wake up. And that type of fear carried on, because when I had the operation and you come away from it, and afterwards there was one or two little complications, but once I come away from the operation, it was like more of the struggle started in my apartment. Like, I don't have the click of a button sitting next to a hospital bed where the nurse or doctor comes running in, and it was that was the start of everything. And I look back at it now and say I was a blank canvas. I was back to ground zero, from me fitness levels to me mental capacity to everything. I just felt as though it's all been stripped back, and I've been able to rebuild it all back. But I started to realise that it's not a race to do it, that I still have times where there can be some days where I go, oh, not today. But do you know what? You still be able to revert back to going, but at least I'm awake to feel it. And I think all of those times along the way all led back to the point of those moments where a doctor does say to you, Mark, you're lucky to still be here. Mark, you should have died. And all of those things that they still do be in my head. But I learned to be able to turn certain negative comments or certain negative scenarios in my life and see the silver lining in it, because that's the choice I want to make, and that's the choice I want to live by. And it's trying to live by that, as I said from the beginning, is to be that example, to show, like, you can have all of these things happen to you no matter what they are, but then it's my choice whether I want to see the silver lining in it. So yeah, like, I always remember the dark times and the down times, but I remember them to make better for what I've got now.
How much was it down to you that you made those choices and you did what you did, as you say, to start at ground zero and build up from there? And how much outside influence did you get as well from others that helped you along the way?
To be honest, I'd say from the very beginning, it was all outside influence. I had given up on myself massively. Like, and I know for a fact I did. Like, I can sit here and say that I believed all the time. Like, this was the first time that I just given up on myself, because I felt as though I had nothing. My football career was finished. Like, what do I do with my life now? Like, I left school when I was 15 years old, and all of a sudden you sit there and go, right, well, there's nothing left for me in my life. Like, this is me. And to struggle to sleep every single night because I had the fear that I'm never going to wake up, which started in the hospital. And like it was a joint effort from everyone who I have in my life, from my family, my mum, my dad, my brother, my ex-partner at the time. She was brilliant for trying to do the stuff where meal preps and making sure I had everything so I didn't get too strenuous about a lot of stuff. Then I had all my mates in football who would come around to my house and make sure that, well, look, come on with us for a 15-minute walk. Let's do a 10-minute walk. And they'd be that little bit of a shining light. The football club invited me back in and letting me be around the staff side of stuff and still be part of it to get a routine. And everybody else who I came in contact with from doing podcasts and through football, that I felt I was very lucky, and that everything that led to me to be where I am now were all outside sources, and it was about people just pointing me in the right directions and putting me in the right perspectives to kind of go, try a bit of this. How about do a bit of counselling? Why don't you go do this? And as I say, I can't thank people enough, and like my list would be endless with everything that has happened. And I think even on that behalf, it did show me a lot to kind of go, as much as everybody from the outside did help, I still have to give myself a little bit of credit, because I still didn't give up on myself. So I still did listen, and I still did try and just go, well, if you want me to try this, right, I'll go do it, because at the end of the day, it has to start with me. People can give you all the best advice possible, but it has to start with you. And the fact of all of those things happening, and then once the ball got rolling and people were willing to help, then that made me a lot more comfortable to talk about it. And then when I did counselling, it got me a lot more comfortable in understanding it. And then I did a lot more other things, and it just got me more and more comfortable in everything that felt so uncomfortable, that there was no stigma around me anymore. I didn't have to hide anything anymore. I was just allowed to be me. And this is what has happened. This is the career I've had. This is how I'm feeling now. And it just made me feel so much more at ease. But like I say, there was so many people at the very beginning to put me on that path, that it wasn't just me sit here and pat myself on the back. But I think for carrying it on, I can sit and pat myself on the back, as well as thank everybody that, look, at as the joint effort it was, like I'm still alive today, and I'm still here with a smile on my face.
It's the second time, of course, about the heart valve, because the first time was when you were at Derby and when you were a kid. With, all due respect, you were a young lad. Yeah. But that didn't stop you playing football. But as I said, you're just a young lad, not long at Derby. I think just made your debut and so on. And then, what did happen? How did you find out? How did the club find out?
To be honest, that one came from, as you say, I made my debut that summer beforehand in May. So I didn't know I had any abnormalities. I didn't know I had a single thing wrong. And I remember going home to Dublin, coming back and getting ready for the next new season and thinking, I've just made my debut. Hopefully I can kick on and get more games. And everything was all exciting. And as you do when you sign your first scholarship and the contract that I signed, I have to go and do like a routine medical where down in the training ground, they bring in the doctors to do like a medical heart screenings, your height, your weight, your blood pressures, all this. And the doctor picked up that I had a slight leak in my aortic valve. I got told I had an abnormality. And at that time, because I was 16, I always say it went in my favour a lot. I was very naive in the sense of what it actually meant. All I kept asking doctors anytime I had to deal with one was, can I still play football? Like, there was never any other question. There was never, am I going to die? Am I going to live? Like, there was just, can I still play? Because I made that debut. And again, I think Derby is another club where I say it's always so close to my heart, because if it wasn't for the club, I wouldn't have found this issue. If it wasn't for Nigel Clough as a manager, I wouldn't have had a career, because he stuck by me when I made my debut. And when they found out this, look, you don't have to hold on to a 16-year-old, and you don't have to, as a club, put up with all of this type of stuff. But he gave me a 3.5-year contract, which then gave me the opportunity to at least see if I can get back playing or not. And I think that in itself shows the person he was. Derby as a club, with the fan base that it is and the community that it is and the togetherness that was there, I think is amazing. And like I say, once I knew that I had the backing of everything at that club. Look, there was nothing ever going to stop me because, like I say, there was something to come back for. There was always football to come back for, and because Derby stuck by me, once I got back on a pitch, I was willing to give everything to Derby. And the fact that they did stick by me and give me that opportunity, a career that some youngsters unfortunately don't get given. That I owed a lot to Derby at the time, and even still to this day. Like, look, I'll always look out for them, and it's a club that will always be close to me and my family for so many more reasons.
How long was the recovery then from that surgery before you were out playing first team football again?
So I had the operation. It was in October. It was just before Halloween, and I ended up. They flew me back to Dublin for 3 months. So I went back to Dublin for November, December, and then a little bit of January. Then I came back. And then once I started, it was again, like I say, the blank canvas, slow walks into jogs, into getting quicker and quicker. And everything was kind of going well for me. I wasn't as fit as any of the teammates, but I realised that when I went back to the hospital and I'd done a fitness test of their medical experience, which is walk on a treadmill for someone who's just had open heart surgery. And they said I was streets ahead of where I should be, which then gave me the confidence of knowing it's going in the right direction. And I think it might have been the beginning of April, end of March, beginning of April, where we played Manchester United for the under-18s on MUTV. And I remember it was my first game to start in, and everybody obviously watching, my family were watching back home. And once the whistle goes, I was back being myself again. I was blocking things, balls hit me in the chest, making tackles, winning headers, and it put my family at ease to see me back to how I was, and it put me at ease a little bit because I just thought, I'm finally back on a pitch now. I can kick on. And at the end of that season, Derby played Cardiff at home, last game of the season. And Nigel Clough put me on the bench. Now, I look back at that now and say, was I fit enough to be on the bench? Possibly not. But to give me the confidence and the boost that it did give me to think I'm back now, and the managers at that noticing it because I'm on the bench. And I think that's like a class act in itself to kind of give me the boost for a 16-year-old to what he did. So I'll always remember me time back to that. But again, it was a difficult time. But again, being 16 and naive, I didn't really think about the severity of it.
So when you went out onto the pitch, was it in the back of your mind at all, or was it just, now here I am again, on we go?
Exactly that. It was literally on we go. Like, football to me was always the big distraction. Once I was on a pitch for 90 minutes, anything could have been happening off the field, or anything could be happening anywhere in the world. Like, it did not bother and it did not matter to me. And I think, like, I've spoken to club doctors since I retired and stuff like that, and they used to say that they used to be nervous for me going out. Like, people used to be nervous for me. My family used to be nervous every game that I played. The club doctors would be really nervous when I used to play, but I was never nervous. Like, I just thought, well, I get to play. Doctors told me I'm okay. I'll just go out, and as I say, the whistle goes and you're blocking balls, you're making tackles, I'm sticking my head in where people don't put their feet, and that was just me. And it never gave me time. Like, football was the reason why I struggled so much at the second time around, was because football, I realised, was such a massive distraction for me, to take me mind away from, oh, well, I've just had open heart surgery. Like, this is such a massive operation. This is life altering, and all those things that could have been. That football, once I was on a pitch, didn't matter to me. And that's why I think I had to accept the fact of, when I lost football, I know that's where the majority of the struggle came from, because I didn't have any distraction to take me mind off what the severity of everything is. And obviously, again, as I say, being 16 and naive definitely went in my favour.
Yeah, we've spoken to several footballers where the career just ends. You know, some careers dwindle on, but talking to Phil G, who scored goals for Derby in the 80s and the 90s, and he got an injury, and that was it. He said, my career started from nothing and ended into nothing so quickly. And it is that, dealing with it, when it has just simply been all-consuming.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think, because football is that consuming, it literally is life. and you live, you breathe it. It's your daily routine, it's your monthly routine, it's your yearly routine. Like, you know every single day what you're doing, how you're doing it, when you're doing it. Like, I got this explained to me. It was Kev Ellison when he signed for Newport, and he explained it to me saying, the only difference between football and the army is that you get shot at in the army. That is it. Because everything else, as in structure-wise and routine-wise and everything, is so regimented in football that when you step away from it, normal life isn't normal. And again, look, there's no point skating around it. Like, footballers can get given certain better treatments. So if you go in for a blood test, a urine test, a scan, MRIs, football can have it done on a Monday, you get your result by Tuesday. Now, you come into the normal world of living, you have a blood test done, you will find out, phone us in the next 2.5, 3 weeks. And that, to me, baffled me with everything that went on in my life. Because I'm going for blood tests and they're saying, well, phone us back in 3 weeks. And you don't understand the anxieties that builds in yourself, thinking, well, what if they find something? What if not? And all these things go on. And like you say, when football does come to a stop, because it's that consuming, your life just feels as though your life's come to a stop. Like, as in to say, I've been living in a bubble for this long. Like, I don't understand normal life. And it's crazy to say, because you think, oh yeah, like, you're idolised by so many people and you're in the spotlight for everything that goes on, and good and bad. But I look at it a little bit and say, but realistically, I think footballers are sheltered from a normal life to an extent, and not meaning that they get given everything, but I mean sheltered in a way of living that life isn't as structured, life isn't as regimented, things can go wrong and things aren't always going to be perfect. But does football teach you that? No. But I think the one good thing that football does teach you about fundamentals in life is discipline. The discipline that football gives you to be a professional footballer can apply in any way in life. The kind of strength and determination that it gives you in football can do anything, and your mentality to go out and play in front of thousands of people who might boo you and hate every single thing that you do, but for you to have that steely mentality and to block that out. Now, some people can't do that in a day-to-day life, and you've got that mentality. It's just about reshaping it now to put it into something different. And I learned all that along the way, where when I stopped football, a lot of footballers lose an identity, and you think to yourself, who am I anymore? Like, I'm not Mark the footballer anymore. I'm just Mark. And Mark is a nobody. Not the fact of saying, no, still be proud of everything you've done. Like, you've done really well and all those things. So I think footballers do struggle a lot if they don't have that next purpose to come out from. And like you say, when you have footballers that it's been taken away from them, it's even 10 times worse than even having to come to terms with just retiring on your own terms. So when it gets taken from you, like it does with a lot of people, I try and tell people now, enjoy everything that you've got, because I said you'll never know. At the click of a button, a tackle, a header, it could be anything. Your career could be over. So don't dwell on a loss on a Saturday. Don't dwell on a bad tackle. Don't dwell on things that are going on now. Keep enjoying it for the most that you can. Play with a smile, and look, let the rest take care of itself. And that's the way I try and show people things now.
Let's rewind then back to Mark O'Brien before Derby County as a young lad, growing up in Ireland and getting the opportunity to come and join an English Football League team. How did all that come about? And just tell us about the young Mark O'Brien before knowing anything about heart issues.
I would say the young Mark O'Brien was someone who was sporty, ran around. I was just a kid. Like, anything that you wanted me to go play, rounders, football, skateboarding, cycling with me, like everything. And sports days were my favourite days at school, because you do all the running tracks and the penalty shootouts and the five-a-side games, and that was just me. Like, it was just a normal childhood, and I absolutely loved every moment of it. And getting to play football for my local team, Cherry Orchard, getting to just constantly keep playing football, and the more that football grew for me back in Ireland, it was almost kind of like I wanted to go away. I wanted to move away. I want to go and play football. Like, as much as I love Ireland, like, I could have moved halfway around the world at the age of 15 when I moved away, and I wouldn't have cared, because it was to play football every day. But growing up, it was just I would say a normal childhood where you're out on the streets kicking balls with your friends, parents call you in, you're back out again, and you're more out than you're in and different things. And like I say, I look at it and say I'm kind of glad that I had the childhood that I had then, and then getting to make the friends that I've got, that I've still got to this day. Like, and I've said to you before, like, I've been part of being able to play every sport known to man, Gaelic, football, and as I say, getting to skateboard when I was a kid. Not a lot of people know that I used to do that, but used to get to skateboard, and I just enjoyed everything that got given my way, because I wasn't a child to say I was brought up with a lot, but I never went without. I always had what I needed, but I didn't get spoiled or I didn't get anything. But I loved, if at Christmas on my birthday I had a new ball under my arm, if I had a scale electric under the Christmas tree, all little things like that. Like, it was all stuff like that. And yeah, like, I absolutely love looking back and, as you say, speaking about them, because that's some of the best times ever, where it was just carefree, go out and kick a ball before all the stresses and pressure of football come along.
Yeah, we all love to kick a ball. We all think we can play football, but some have the X factor, and you got it. So how did that break come? You said you'd quite happily travel around the world at 15. I can't even remember being 15. But so what happened? How did that break come?
And to be honest, it was playing for my local team and everything is going great. And then by the age of 11 or 12, you start getting chosen for your county team to go and play in a tournament. So our county, Dublin, can play against Cork, Kerry, all in a tournament called the Kennedy Cup. So I got to be captain of my Dublin team. I done really well. We won the cup. So then the next year after that, when you're 14, 15, you get selected for the young Ireland international teams. So I got selected to play for Ireland. And in between those times, when you're about 14, 15, teams are able to take you over on your school breaks for a trial. So they can take you over for 4 days for the full week when you have time off school. So I remember I went away on trials to Liverpool, Man City, Blackburn, and I went to Blackburn about 5-6 times. And Gary Bowyer was the academy manager at the time. And I really enjoyed my time there, and I absolutely loved it. And I was so close to signing for Blackburn, but within the space of a week, the Derby scout back in Ireland, who, funnily enough, his name is Mark O'Brien, no relation, but he spoke to my family and said, would Mark want to come to Derby? Like, obviously, he's got all of the teams like a Man City or a Liverpool wanting him to go back on trial, but would he fancy coming over to Derby? And my dad said, ask him. It's up to him. It's not up to me, us as parents. Like, my dad left decisions to me. So he asked me and said, do you want to go to Derby for a weekend? And I said, yeah, I loved it. So I flew over and I landed in Liverpool with my dad on a Saturday morning. Now, we had a flight at 6:30. We landed in Liverpool at 7:30. We got picked up at the airport to go to Everton's training ground. I met up with my under-14s team that it was at the time. We ended up playing against Everton. We won 3-2. I scored the winner and I flew back that evening. So that was my very first time or trial at Derby. And again, they were on the phone saying, we absolutely love him. Look, we'd love him to come over for a week now. We've seen enough of him to kind of say we want to see what he's like in the training ground, in the digs and everything like that. So I loved the team I was playing with. And obviously it went really well. So I flew back over for a week in the next school break. And straight away, I think I was only 14, 15 at the time. So I was training with the scholars at the time. So I didn't know I was training with the scholars who were obviously 17, 18, 19 years of age. And I remember it was 2 days in and the academy managers pulled me into the office and they were saying, are you enjoying yourself? And I was like, yeah, I'm having a great time. Like, I was just loving the fact that I get to kick a football every day. I was like, yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. He goes, do you know who you're training with? And I said, well, the same age group as me. And they were like, no, they're our scholars. They're 18 and 19. And they were like, but you don't look like you're out of place. So you're doing really well, keep it going. And I'm just sitting there just beaming ear to ear, kind of going, I'm loving this. This is amazing. And then you get to go to the digs to see where you'd be living. Loved all of that. And it was the minute I came back from Derby, straight away, I said it to me, Mum and Dad, that's me. I want to sign for Derby. Now, obviously, if they want to sign me, but I wanted to sign for Derby because I felt as though it was a home from home. Like, that's exactly all it felt to me. It's a home from home where I feel comfortable. I like the teammates that are there. I love the staff that were there. I love the whole building. Like, everything about it just felt as though, yeah, I love it. And Derby got in touch with my family and said they wanted to offer me a 3-year contract. And look, the rest was history after that. And that's why by the time I got to 15 and I'd done me GCSEs, the equivalent in Dublin, that I didn't think twice. It was just get me over to Derby. So, yeah, as much as Blackburn were close to signing me, the minute Derby came in, I just couldn't say no after experiencing what I did.
So you come to Derby. Now, you've mentioned him already, Nigel Clough. How much of an influence was he on you?
He was a massive influence for me. Like, he was the beginning of my career. I think as a professional, as a person, like how he was with me was a lot of loyalty as a manager. And obviously I've never experienced anything like that at the beginning of a career. You don't know what managers are going to be like. You don't know how the system's going to work. And I just think I was very lucky to have him as a manager growing up through the academy, because I never got taught to try and be something that I'm not. He kind of enhanced what I already was. He loved the fact of I enjoyed defending. He loved the fact of how I was as a defender. And he just tried to keep enhancing that and let me be me. And as you say, from the age of 16 to give me a debut at 16 away at Watford, to then know that I need open heart surgery. And even through that, he was great with me family. He was phoning me family, making sure they're okay. He was phoning me, making sure I'm doing me walks when I was back in Dublin. And just as a man, like, I can remember like sitting in the training ground and I'd be eating with a knife and fork and he'd come over and correct me from behind saying I'm not holding it correctly. Like, he took an interest in people. He took an interest in that if you were a good enough person, he would look after you just as much as you see with the players that he's had in his time with Sean Barker, who he would bring everywhere with him, John Brayfords and people like that, and Stephen Boywaters. Like, he was a man of his word, where if you get on and do well by him, he will look after you immensely. And with me, like I say, I couldn't speak highly enough of him. Like, as a person, as a manager, look, I think he was perfect and really showed me the Derby way as such, to kind of show the togetherness from the squad that we built to the fan base, to everybody around. Like, we all felt like a massive togetherness, and it was down to him to why it was brought together. And like I say, he was someone who probably saved my career to give me the opportunity to play, and then to show his faith in me with the heart surgery, the ACL injury and different things, and always sticking by me to put me straight back in once I was ready. Like, as I say, without him, I probably wouldn't have had much of a career. And you're probably just one of these people that it all went well for 1 year, the one-hit wonder as a kid, and you never hear anything again. So I owe a lot to him.
He didn't suffer falls though, did he?
No. Like, in all fairness, the man that he is, and as a manager that he was, like, he just creates these amazing moments and he creates these amazing teams, and the togetherness that he builds through a lot. Like, I always will commend him for, we have had, and the wage bill that he had to cut back on, to be able to kind of go from people who are in their middle to early 30s all the way to 16, 17 year olds. We all felt as though we were together. We all felt as though we had this mad, like, brotherhood, togetherness. We all looked out for each other, and he was the man who created that. And everywhere he's been since, and everywhere that he's gone and had a job, look, I think people will always say, like, he mirrors his dad a lot. And look, I was never around when his dad was a manager, but I hear people say he's got a lot of traits of his dad. And if his dad was anything like him, and you hear people when they speak about Brian Clough now through podcasts and stuff, where he was a loyal man. He was someone who would look after you. If you do well by him and you trust in what he does, he will look after you immensely. And look, I think Nigel as himself has done exactly the same.
11-12 was probably your best season with Derby in terms of the number of games that you played, and the team that he was putting together and making these changes, getting rid of some of the older players, bringing the youth like yourself through, Jeff Hendrick coming through as well. Will Hughes was just sort of on the periphery, but again, the production line was there of young players coming through. And there was a famous game against the great rivals at the City Ground where fellow Irishman Jeff Hendrick certainly made his mark that day. You played in that game, and maybe one of the most remarkable games you played in a Derby shirt.
Yeah, 100%. I'll always remember the build-up to it, like everybody in the training ground. It's one of these things when there's a Derby Forest game to be happening, I think everybody in the city is aware of it, and we got made aware of the implications of it and what it means to Derby as a place, what it means to the fans. And for that whole week build-up, I think Nigel going into it, he had a team meeting, and his first couple of lines in the team meeting was, look, when you go to the City Ground, ignore all the noise. They like to start really fast. Try and withstand them within the first 10, 15 minutes and find your feet in the game as you go along, because there was a lot of us who this would have been our very first experience of it. And I remember walking out into the stadium and like the noise, it was almost like deafening where you can't hear the person next to you. And it was a surreal kind of moment when you hear a stadium like that. It was my first experience of it. And yeah, for the first 30 to 60 seconds of the game, we give away a penalty, the goalkeeper gets sent off, and you're 1-0 down. So everything that he just threw and told us at the very beginning all went out the window. But again, for it to finish in the fashion that it did, Jamie Ward, when he scored that goal, like, I think we held our own, and I think it was a very spirited performance. It epitomised what he was creating. It was a team of just honesty, hard work, and a togetherness. And that all got us through. And don't get me wrong, there was a lot of talent in there. Theo Robinson, Jamie Wards, and people like that. And Jason Shackle playing alongside me, and John Brayford. Like, all the list of names that you can keep going with. That in itself showed exactly what he was building. Like, that in itself was his way of saying that's a Derby performance to what I want. It was just a grit and determination. And then for Jeff, he missed the header just before it, and everybody thought that's our one chance over and done with. And for it to fall to him the way that it did, for him to get his very first Derby goal in that type of atmosphere, and the celebrations afterwards, and the kind of game that I enjoyed, I would say, when it's backs against the wall and you have to stand up tall and win your headers, win your tackles, be resilient in what you do. And yeah, it's a game that I look back on fondly and always remember. And it's great to be part of stuff like that for a club's history, to kind of say they'll always remember that day, and to be part of that team and to be involved in it for the full game, and only be 18 at the time as well, was kind of, again, a surreal moment, but it was something where it still lives strongly in me. I remember the day very, very well.
As you say, it was chaotic in that opening couple of minutes and so on. Adam Legstins ends up going in goals because Frank Fielding, as we say, got sent off. They scored the penalty. During that chaos and the change, there was a natural break. Do you remember, did Nigel Clough try and get you together as players and say, OK, look, the game plan's already out of the window because of what's happening? Or did he take the view, well, do you know what? You're in this, not in this mess, but you're in this situation. Get out there and do what you need to do.
I'd say it was more of the approach of the second one, like, get out there and do what you need to do. Like, when a game is going on, yes, you can hear him from the sideline and the substitutions that he needs to make, and you can hear when you're doing right from wrong, and like that was the type of voice that he had. But I think in a game like that, it was very self-explanatory, and I think he trusted the team and what he had, and he knew we had enough youth out there to have the, let's say, the energy to get around, but also he had it mixed with a lot of good experience as well that was able to calm the game and settle people in and just keep yourselves going, and let's build our way into the game now. Right, the madness is out of the way, and I think the experienced lads like your Brayfords and your Jason Shackles and even Adam Legstins, like, to come in such an atmosphere and to do as well as he done. Gareth Roberts as well. Like, there was a lot of experience to kind of say, now settle down, now let's just find our feet in the game. And as you say, I think once Jamie Ward scored that goal just before half time, it kind of gave us that bit of a boost going in at half time to kind of say, look, we're back in it now. We're going to go back out in a clean slate, but this is what we need to do. And look, we knew it was going to take a monumental effort to go away to your rivals, 10 men for a full game basically, and say, look, we need to pull a result out. And I think if we had came away with a draw, you would have walked away and said, what a result, we've done unbelievably well. But I think the little cherry on top was to come away with the victory in the manner that we did it, in the way that it was, and to see those fans celebrating behind the goal. And I remember even we get on the bus afterwards, and after the game, the whistle went and Nigel Clough was coming on and he's hugging everybody, and it's kind of like a real, again, togetherness. And then we were on the bus and you have to drive down this little narrow kind of passage to get out of the stadium. And then there was a pub on the corner and our bus driver is beeping the horn, we're banging the windows, and it was just, like you say, it was a day to remember. But Nigel Clough for those type of words was, well, I've put you out there, you know what you need to do. And I think the experienced lads took over while they were on the field and really settled the game down.
So that was quite a season, but as if to kick you in the teeth, the following season, injury comes along. And did you miss all of that season?
I missed the majority of that season. The injury came along in the season that we played the Forest game, and it led into the following season. So that in itself was kind of a kick in the teeth, because it was just a week before I got left out of the team. We played West Ham away, and I came on for the last 30 minutes, and then we played Leeds at home and we beat them 3-1. I came on for the last 30 minutes because Sean Barker was back from his injury then. And the manager said, in the nicest way, politely, if I look back at it now, put his arm around my shoulder and said, look, I'm leaving you out this game today, like you're on the bench, but I bet you didn't expect to play as much as you have this season, and just smiled. And as an 18-year-old, you kind of sit there and go, no, well, like, I've loved it. But what it did make me do was kind of go, right, I need to hit the reset button to go again. I need to get back into the team. And leading up to a game just after the Leeds game, it was just around Christmas time. And I remember it was just in a training, and Nigel Clough pulled me into the office and said, I'm going to put you back in the starting team this week, which I was delighted about. And then I went out into training, and that's where I tore my ACL. And it was kind of one of those sod's law type things where it felt as though, why me? Not again. Now I'm out. And you have to go through all of that. But again, I think the open heart surgery is something that led me on a good way to deal with things, where I thought, well, if I can get back from this, I can get back from that. And it took me a good 10 months to get back fit from it. And then once I got back into the team, once again, Nigel Clough sticking by me as the manager, then I got back into the team. But the one thing that it did let me do, it let me kind of build myself up physically. I got a little bit stronger from the gym sessions I needed to do. I got to be able to work on things that I probably couldn't have done when I was playing every single week in the team. So I put that, again, positive spin on it to kind of say, right, I'm going to do this way. I'm going to build myself up, and the fitness coach, Steve Haynes, put me on all of these different weight training and proteins and all of these things. So I came back as a better centre-back than what I left. I was a lot more physical. I could kind of deal with the demands of what the championship striker would be up against. And I felt as though, yeah, look, I'm better for this now. So got back into the team and, again, played a handful of games. And what they didn't realise was we were playing Sheffield Wednesday away, and it's when I got pulled out of the team just before the kickoff, because, again, I had a microfracture in the same knee that we didn't know I had, because my knee kept swelling up every Saturday. I'd play a game, it would swell up. I didn't train Monday to Friday, and then I'd play again Saturday. And because Nigel Clough wanted me in the team, he literally said, look, let's see what we can get out of this. Let's keep playing until wherever. And the Sheffield Wednesday game was one game too far. And again, the manager, not being too happy, blamed me, even though he knew everything that was going on in the rage that he was in. So then I had to go in for a second knee operation, I think, after that. And that was the one that kind of shifted everything at Derby for me, because in that time, when I was close to being back fit, Nigel Clough then left as the manager. Steve McLaren came in. So things and the dynamics changed. And while you're out injured, when a new manager comes in, everybody gets a head start. And look, Steve McLaren was brilliant for me, and he was someone that taught me the other side of football, let's say the pretty side, the structured side, the playing out from the back side, be comfortable on the ball. And look, he had his centre backs and his defensive line very rigid, and he was always constantly working on it. And I just learned a lot from that period as well. Obviously wanting to play in the team, but they were on a run to Wembley to play against QPR, and Jake Buxton and Keogh were the two centre backs all season. And it's not very often you get two centre backs to play a full season without picking up injuries, but they done that. And again, I just learned off that, and it was a great experience to get to travel to Wembley, being 19th man and different things. So I absolutely loved it, and like you say, I wouldn't change it for the world. But the second knee operation was the time that really kind of altered my time at Derby, that I didn't have that loyalty in a manager to say, well, look, we know what you're all about, let's get back out there. It was kind of like new manager, clean slate. Well, look, this is his recent past. He's had enough injuries. Maybe he needs to move on. And unfortunately, that was the politics of football there and then.
Yeah. You had an experience north of the border with Motherwell, other loan spells as well. And then on to Newport. And there were some stories at a reborn Newport, weren't there?
Yeah, it was definitely a one for the memory books. Like, the amount of experiences that I've had at this club, like, they speak for themselves. I think when I first signed, it was in the January, and they were sitting at the bottom of the table, 11 points from safety. And I remember when I came in, the manager said he was bringing in 10 to 11 new signings. He wanted a whole dynamic change. He needed people who were going to roll up their sleeves. And it sounded exactly like the type of football that I enjoyed playing at that time, where I needed to find my feet again, because I feel as though in my career I went drifting a little bit, where I didn't really settle in too many places. And I got back in, I got down to Newport, and once I started playing, we were just slowly picking up results. But then it got to March time, and we were still 11 points from safety. Manager's just been sacked, and we get Michael Flynn in as the manager. And again, we kept the same team, but what he did do was he just brought back the spirit and love of Newport. He brought back what it means to the fans, and you start to understand Newport that little bit more. And then from that moment, we went on a mad run of games where it's near on impossible. When you say in March time, if a team is 11 points adrift from safety, you're almost saying relegated. And we ended up getting it back down to the last day of the season, where if we mirror or better Hartlepool score, we stay up, they get relegated. And it was the 80th minute, Hartlepool just went 2-1 up, and we were drawing 1-1 with Notts County. And within that, we needed to win the game. I got to the 89th minute. I ended up trotting myself up front, and David Pipe crossed the ball in, it lands on my chest, I volley it in, and we win the game 2-1. And then it goes down in Newport's history as the moment that kind of saved the club, because at that point in their time, the club probably would have went extinct. The club wouldn't have had the finances to keep it alive. And I still have to this day a lot of people who mention to me and say, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have had a job. We wouldn't have had an academy. We wouldn't have had this. And I never knew the severity of it. But the memories then to lead on from on the brink of relegation, I scored my very first EFL goal. And then we played Tottenham in the fourth round of an FA Cup, got a replay away at Wembley. Then the next one after that, we finished just in, so we made the playoff final against Tranmere. We reached the fifth round of an FA Cup. We beat Leicester City. We played against Middlesbrough. We beat Middlesbrough. We beat Leeds United. Like, there was just, every single year got better, because I think we just hit that golden patch of, there was a lot of players who were in Newport's team at that point that were trying to regain their careers again. There was a lot of people where it was, I used to always say, we were like a bunch of misfits that came together great as a team. But the one thing it felt like was the togetherness of what Derby was. Derby had the fans on their side, the city was the town, everything was together. And that is what Newport is, and that's what Newport was. And when you get to feel that and be part of it, and look at it's some of the best memories of my career that I'll always have. And I got to captain a team to Wembley. I got to play in the fifth round of an FA Cup against one of the biggest teams in the world at that moment. Like, it's what dreams are made of, and some people never get to experience that in their life. And I got to do that for a number of years at Newport. And as I say, I've had very, very fond memories here. But Newport and Derby are probably the two clubs that are close to me heart for similar reasons. Gave me both amazing memories in football and gave me opportunity at football, but also with the heart stuff. Derby gave me a chance at a career, and Newport gave me a chance at a second life away from football, and have kept me along ever since.
So thanks for joining us. Our next episode is out on September the 10th, and we're talking to Lee Holmes. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and follow us on social media at Life After the Rams Pod. Our thanks to Mr. Shaw's House and Rams Trust for supporting us, and up the Rams.
Life After the Rams is a Back Pass production.